pen to paper like canvas to a creator. Trying to birth perfection like queens that win in labor. Cause my seed royalty, every line in metaphor is related to a king. That's exactly what this letter for. To be remembered, Facebook, what I need a metaphor. Bars produce heat, what the fuck I need a sweater for. Flow spicy like it's Cajun or Creole. Plus this heat from my lyrics like they straight out of Shio. But on the contrary, I'm a descendant of Elohim. All the breath he put in Adam, no I'm not settling. Trying to leave wickedness, Abba got plans for me. And the demons in my ear, y'all can only catch hands from me. Working on my mental, trying to stay in my right mind. Been underrated, so it's time to let light shine. Fell in love with rap, so it's not about the paper. Like a victim of true blood, it's always about my maker. What I love most was the ancient of days, mixed with the music I be making in the ancient of ways. It's indescribable, exactly what love made. But rapping for God is like a wife with an upgrade. Whoever reads this page, please share these anointed lines. Like a scroll sealed in clay until the appointed time. Enlisted for Messiah, but I know it's him fighting. God pen, it's not me, so I know it's him writing. Memoir. God pen, it's not me. Yeah. I know it's him writing. God pen, solemn, prophet. God pen. I know it's him writing. These lyrics are for you, Abba. All praises. God pen, it's not me. I know it's him writing. Shalom.
Car, you gotta keep it down in there.
Super cranky.
Yeah, we righteous, but we still know how to party. Sipping wine, reading scriptures, we be on it. I know these nations ain't to see us have a good time, but we don't care, we do it all for the Most High. Ain't nothing like an Israelite party. Ladies, if you tryna get it started, ain't nothing like an Israelite party. Ladies, if you tryna get it started, we be turning up in the right way. Fresh garments on, fringes hanging from our waist. You know we do it big on all the most holy days. We be lit, hands up, smiles on our face. Ain't nothing like that unity that you see when you pull up at all the gatherings. When I tell you it's nothing but love, that ain't no bluff. If you got hate in your heart, you might as well hang it up. You can say that, we don't play that. Me and all my brothers cool as shit, we so laid back, yeah. Now if you never been, look, you should come through. But it's only if you want to. Yeah, we righteous, but we still know how to party. Sipping wine, reading scriptures, we be on it. I know these nations ain't to see us have a good time, but we don't care, we do it all for the Most High. Ain't nothing like an Israelite party. Ladies, if you tryna get it started, ain't nothing like an Israelite party. Ladies, if you tryna get it started. I've been to party, seeing brothers who don't normally agree. Come together, showing love, that's how it's supposed to be. All the sisters with each other, throwing down on the food. You know the kids all happy cause they not at school. Got the DJ in the back and he dropping the hits, speaking the hits. Let me go and tell them play some of this. I guarantee when it drop, everybody gon' say, hey, that's a Yarica, let that play. I'ma be honest, ain't no better feeling than to link up with your brothers and y'all just kick it, chopping it up about life, jumping the scriptures. It's all about the Most High, and don't you forget it. I'm just saying, yeah. Now we righteous, but we still know how to party. Sipping wine, reading scriptures, we be on it. I know these nations hate to see us have a good time, but we don't care, we do it all for the Most High. Ain't nothing like an Israelite party. you trying to get it started. Ain't nothing like an Israelite party. Play this if you trying to get it started.
All right. Shabbat shalom, family. Shabbat shalom. Second, let me get everybody in here. All right. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Good to see y'all faces. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Ran into some technical difficulties. Had to switch from my normal computer to the laptop and just everything. So I'm pretty sure that this Shabbat talk is going to be amazing because the enemy has been trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink to make it not happen.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Good to see you. Glad you could make it.
Yep. I'm happy I was able to make it today. So.
Absolutely. All praises. And it's always nice when the Shabbat, our Shabbat lines up with Saturday. So then all of our family and friends that observe Shabbat on Saturday can jump on too. Because a lot of times Shabbat is during the week and a lot of them are working and doing different things. So they're unable to attend. So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me get rid of this banner right here. And put that on there. And as you guys know, we always start giving the Most High his praise. All honor, worship, esteem, exaltation goes to the Most High. Without him, we wouldn't be here. Without him, we wouldn't have woken up this morning. And without him, there would be no Truth Talk Radio, no Shabbat Talk, no Righteous Reactions, none of the information that we share on a weekly basis. So all honor, worship, praise, and esteem goes to the Most High. Got to give him his praise first and foremost. And then shout outs. We only got a couple people in here right now. I haven't seen much come through from YouTube, but real quick, definitely want to give a shout out to Sister Jewel for joining us. I'm glad you can make it. So Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Sister Tess and Sister Cindy.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Yay.
And Shabbat Shalom to my beautiful wife, Ebony.
Hi.
And I saw Professor S in here for a second, but he might be having some signal issues because he's been popping in and out. And I haven't seen anything on YouTube just yet. So I don't know where everybody at, but we keep on moving. We'll keep it moving. All right. So if you missed it, I had a banner going across the bottom earlier in the show. If you missed this scriptural Sabbath summit, restoring the calendar of creation, that was a very good presentation. A bunch of us got together. We went over a lot of scriptural information, breaking down the calendar and showing how you can find the calendar in the scriptures for those who would like to check that out. And for this week's Torah portion, which is the last week of the Torah portion, we are finishing up the book of Deuteronomy. This week we had Deuteronomy 33:1 through 34:12, Joshua chapter 1 verses 1 through 18, and Revelations chapter 22 verses 1 through 5. With that being said, since we're finishing up the Torah, right? We're going to do things a little bit different. Moving forward next week, we're going to begin doing different readings up until the Feast of Tabernacles. And then at the Feast of Tabernacles is when we'll begin starting with the Torah portion over again. Because when we started the Torah portion this time, we actually started it extremely early. But we wanted to, get started in the Torah as soon as possible. So get everything back in alignment, we're going to do separate readings. Okay. And I will pull up that in a second here. But this week's Torah portion, I will quickly play the Parsha in 60 seconds video, and then we can briefly discuss before we get into the righteous reactions.
Welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. Today's portion is from Deuteronomy 33:1 through 34:12. It is called Vezot Habracha, which means, and this is the blessing. Before Moses died, he bade the Israelites farewell with a long detailed blessing. Moses prayed that the tribe of Reuben survive, though its numbers were few, that Judah would be restored and helped against its foes, that the Levites would have substance, favor their undertakings, and smite their enemies. Benjamin would continue to rest securely beside God, between God's shoulders. Joseph to have a good harvest, Zebulun to rejoice in its journeys, and Issachar in its tents. Gad like a lion who executes God's judgment for Israel. Dan like a lion's whelp that leaps from Bashan. Naphtali to take possession of the west and south. Asher to be the favorite among the tribes, dip its feet in oil, and have door bolts of iron and copper and security all its days. Moses then praised God for being a mighty protector like no other. At 120 years old, Moses climbed a mountain, saw the land, and died. The Israelites mourned for 30 days, and Joshua, filled with God's Spirit, became their leader. Never again did a prophet like Moses arise, who spoke face to face with God. And that is Vezot Habracha in 60 seconds.
Are you talking? Because we can't. You're muted.
Sorry, I muted myself during the video. I didn't want the sound to come through. All right, the enemy at work today. Okay, so I was saying, normally we have Brother Greg break the ice and kick us off with what he got out of the Torah portion. I said, but I'll do it this week. A lot of things stood out to me from the Torah portion, but the biggest thing that stood out for me was at the end of Deuteronomy 34. In a Targum, it says, but no prophet hath again risen in Israel like unto Moses, because the word of the Most High had known him to speak with him word for word in all the signs and wonders and manifestations which the word of the Most High sent him to perform in the land of Mizraim upon Pharaoh and all his servants and all the people of his land. And then it continues going on and on and on. But a lot of us, through previous studies, previous Shabbat talks, we've gone over what the word of the Most High is, or if you're reading it in the basic English, the word of the Lord with the capital L. 1 second, I apologize. But yeah, so the word of the Most High is actually the Messiah. We can confirm that from John 1:1 through 1:3, and then John 1:14, which also backs up in Genesis. And we also went into some Old Testament accounts where you can see the word of the Most High or the Messiah being present. So this stood out to me very heavily to say that it was the Messiah that was dealing with Moses and giving him the Torah essentially word for word, right? And being there with him, because we know from the scriptures, you can't see the Most High, his face, and live, right? But I believe it's in Exodus where it says that I spoke to Moses face to face. Well, Moses would have died if the Most High spoke to him face to face. He couldn't have seen the Most High face to face. Professor S, he goes more into that, but it's a very interesting concept. But basically, that stood out to me, that there was more confirmation coming out of the Targum, and the Targum is just the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, in a much older version than like the KJVs and stuff that we have today. So that was the biggest thing that stood out for me this week. Obviously, I can go through a lot. It's sad that, you know, Moses passed away and everything like that. But does anybody else want to share what they got out of this week's Torah portion? Okay. All right, so it's gonna be a long night if nobody shares anything, because this righteous reactions, this is watching videos and having open discussion. So I don't know what to tell y'all. So next week, right? Obviously, we're done with the Torah portion, but next week's scripture reading, right? I was trying to figure out what are some good places to go to that'll follow up with the Torah portion, right? So obviously, right after Deuteronomy, you got Joshua, and Joshua chapter 1 was a part of this week's Torah portion. So we're going to start off at Joshua chapter 2, go through Joshua, finish that. We're also going to get some Proverbs, get some wisdom, right? So we're going to go through Proverbs, and we also going to go through all of the Psalms up until next Feast of Tabernacles. So I set it up because I didn't want there to be too much reading each specific week. I didn't want it to be too much reading each week, so broke it up. Joshua is only 24 chapters. Proverbs is only 31 chapters. Psalms is 150 chapters, right? But the way I broke it up is it's really not that much reading each week. So this upcoming week, we got Joshua chapter 2, verses 1 through 14, Proverbs chapter 1, verses 1 through 20, and Psalms chapters 1 through 4. So Psalms chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Psalms, a lot of the chapters are very small, so it's not like a whole bunch of reading. Believe it or not, the way we got the schedule for this reading is actually much less than a Torah portion. So if you already got used to reading the amount that we had to read each week for the Torah portion, then these weeks leading back up until we start the Torah portions again aren't going to be a problem for you. Let me share that. So it's kind of small print. You probably hard to see. Let me move this out the way. But pretty much the far left side is the weeks, the number of weeks. And since we started early, we finished the Torah portion a little bit late. So there's going to be, starting this upcoming week, 45 weeks until we get to Tabernacles, right? So for 45 weeks, we're going to go through this first column that's being blocked off right now. That column is Joshua. And then you got Proverbs, and then you got Psalms. And each week, we're just going to read each of what it says, and then we'll finish all 3 books by the time Tabernacles finishes. And then we will get back into the Torah portion, start it at the right time, and finish it on the right time, and then we won't have to worry about that issue anymore. Now, when we do start up the Torah portion next, I believe Feast of Tabernacles falls in October. But when we finish that up, when we start that, the supplemental readings are going to be different. So it's not going to be the same. You know how we'll have read Genesis chapter 1, and then it'll be a random scripture that connects to Genesis chapter 1 from like First Kings or the book of Isaiah or something like that. So those supplemental readings we'll swap out with some other books. That way we're just broadening our horizons, right? Because I know a lot of it delved into the Isaiahs, the First Kings, Second Kings, First Samuel, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, books like that. And then a lot of the New Testament scripture supplemental readings kind of focused in on a lot of Paul's epistles. So I kind of want to tailor the focus more so toward, in terms of the New Testament, back towards the Gospels, and then just pick whatever is a good starting point in the Old Testament. So that's that. And if anybody wants a copy of the reading so you can keep track, I will definitely get that sent out to everybody. So with that one being said, we can get started on righteous reactions. And all righteous reactions is, sis, because I know this is the first time you joined us. So righteous reactions is, we're just gonna play some short clips, different videos, and discuss it, right? Most of the videos that we will play on righteous reactions will have some type of biblical theme, but not all of them are. But even if it's not a biblical theme, we're going to discuss it biblically. We're going to discuss everything through a scriptural lens, right? But like I said earlier, it's going to be a long night. Don't nobody contribute to the conversation. So let me pull this up. All right. So the first video is actually, the first two videos I'm gonna play is videos that we were going to do at the previous righteous reactions, but we ran out of time. So I'm gonna get those two started. I'm gonna play both the videos back to back, and then we'll discuss, because they kind of go together.
So question, where are all the fruit trees? Because if you think about it, what is the evolutionary advantage to fruits, right? It's a food source. Animals go eat those foods, eat the seeds, go wander, scurry about, do their poops, new plant, fresh with fertilizer even. But where are all the fruit trees? And as a hint, how old are the trees in your area? And how old can trees get?
The trees out in the world are male trees, right? And so what does that mean? I don't know if, once again, I don't know if you guys know, but the fact that there's more male trees than female trees means there's less fruit of labor, right? Less food out there that we can just go out there and be like, oh, yep, thank you. We were born with abundance. When the human life came into existence, we were abundant with food and life and quality. Right? Everything was there for us, but now we have to buy shit. Excuse my language. We have to buy fruits, vegetables, herbs, all these things, but they were already there for us.
And it's like, where are we then? If we're on a plane that has mostly water, if we're made of mostly water, why the fuck do we have to buy water or pay for water or just the natural things in life? It kind of keeps you in the loop of having to survive off of something that's always abundant.
All right. So, like I said, both them videos go together, right? We've briefly talked about this on some previous Shabbat talks, but there's the lack of actual female trees that bear fruit, right? There used to be back in the day, you go outside, you just grab your fruit off the tree. If you get hungry, eat your snack. Don't got to worry about it. If anybody's traveled outside of the U.S. recently, you went anywhere, really anywhere, Africa, Dominican Republic, Mexico, over in Europe, right? It's all the same. There's trees everywhere, right? Even when me and my family stayed in Guam for a few years, we had soursop. We had soursop in our yard. Our neighbor had dragon fruit, right? You could just walk down the street and see all kinds of fruit. They just fall on the ground and everything. So there was a very, I believe it was back in the 70s. Not sure on a year, so don't quote me. But there was basically a very strong effort to remove all the trees. So they would take the trees down and either replace the female trees that bear fruit with male trees, or they just wouldn't replace the trees at all. And so they did it quietly, but then when they were asked, when people began to become suspicious and asked about it, like, hey, why are you taking all the trees down? They would just blame it on modernization of construction and building up these different cities and these different communities. And you see like some of these subdivisions, they get built up and then they'll plant the little trees out as decorations, but all of those trees is just decoration. None of them will actually bear anything. And so I wanted to quickly share some scripture on that. Let me see. Actually, I'll just read it. It's two scriptures. It's Genesis 1, verse 11 and Genesis 1, verse 29. And verse 11 says, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. Verse 29 says, and Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. That word meat is a Hebrew word that actually just means food, right? So I know it's in our minds, we see the word meat and we think like beef or chicken or something, but meat just means food. So if the Most High created trees to bear fruit that has seeds to continuously reproduce for us to have a food supply, right? And they're removing all of the trees that bear fruit, that's letting you know that there's an agenda going on, right? We don't have the luxury of just going outside if we're hungry or starving and have meat, right? To be able to eat that food that's free. It's there for us. They removed it. So that makes us dependent upon the government if anything happens, right? If they take away all the trees, now you have to go to the grocery stores. Now you have to go to the places where they provide the food. And throughout the history, there's been plenty of situations where large bodies of people have faced starvation. And it became very apparent very quickly that whoever held control of the food source had the power. Whoever held control of the food source had the power. Because if chaos breaks out and order breaks out, money is just a representation of something that you can trade. The value of money is the value that we put on it, right? But if you're starving and someone says, well, I'll give you $5,000 for an apple, that money don't mean anything. You want the apple is more valuable, right? So whoever has the food or control of the food and that primary resource has the power. So pay attention to things as they're happening around you. There's always a reason for these things, right? But I definitely want to bring that out. Does anybody have anything they want to add or comment or share about those videos?
I wanted to add to that. So not only the trees are coming up missing, but whatever fruits now that we buy in the grocery store, they don't have any seeds in them. So there's not even any seeds that we could take it and go plant a fruit tree from it. They're all seedless. Absolutely. Everything. All GMOs.
All GMOs, genetically modified.
Yeah.
But those people who are interested in planting your own crops, planting your own fruit, I'm not 100% sure on certain trees, but we have a contact and a relationship with an amazing couple in the truth, and this is what they do for a living. You can actually get seeds from them. So if anybody's interested in getting seeds, starting a garden, planting things on your own, you can let us know and we'll put you in communication with them, because it is important, right? right? It is important. If you're eating something that it doesn't have seeds in it, and I'll be the first one to admit, like, if I bite when I was a kid and I bit into a grape and that thing had seeds, I'm like, oh, what is this? I don't know, you know what I mean? But if it doesn't have seeds, then that means that it wasn't properly grown and raised the correct way. It either was grown in a laboratory or it's a byproduct of a plant or a fruit that was genetically modified to not have seeds, which was in the laboratory. So great point, Sister Andy. Sister Sponsor, Shabbat Shalom. Give you your shout out.
Shabbat Shalom. I was a bit late. I'm sorry. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Sister Jasmine. I see you on in there, slid on in there. And then let's see, who's this? Shabbat Shalom to Sister Ava. She's on Facebook. Sorry, sis. I didn't see who you were at first. It just says Facebook user. But let me see let me go back to what she said. She said, hold on, let me pull it up. To comment on the Torah portion, I was wondering about the meaning of the word blessing. Went down the rabbit hole on that one. But something my dad shared was how when we speak blessings and even pray for one another, we bind him as his representatives to what is spoken. It's how we activate his will in situations and how he gets to move in our lives. Are you meaning like when we bless others? And then she gave a joke too. 5,000 though, I could use some fasting. Talk about the apple when I said if somebody offered you $5,000 for an apple. This is funny. But yeah, so that's the first video. Well, the second video, I guess technically.
I wanted to say something about the fruit. A few things. I encourage everyone, like I tell my husband all the time, we know the world is going to shit, basically, right? But it's not there yet, right? And when it comes to trying to find seeds, yes, we have access already to, people that have seeds and stuff like that. But traveling as well, if you have the opportunity to travel, it's a blessing because you can go to these countries, and because a lot of them still have fruit trees, just, it's not like you have to go to someone's property. Like they're just out on the side of the road while you're driving. You can go, you can get the fruit and get the seeds. You know what I mean? But it also gives you a chance to see the world, also learn possibly how to grow, how they grow it over there, so you can grow it over here. Also, there are still some nurseries here in the States that have already sprouted like baby, not sprouted, but like baby fruit trees. So, and they're female trees, not, they're going to actually produce and bear fruit. So it's just one of those things you have to keep an open mind. I also definitely encourage everyone to practice fasting. Not just obviously for the spiritual blessings and benefits of fasting, but train your body on fasting. Train your body on, eating one meal a day or going, 24 hours with no food. Things are going to get a lot harder. And truthfully, the way we were made, built, created, we were made to go all day without eating and eat one meal. It's westernized medicine that has said, oh, you need 3 meals a day plus snacks in between. Like, that's a lie, So it's a mindset shift that has to happen before you can actually do it. And don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you don't have enough fat on your body, it's going to be harder. But even then, if it's a mindset thing, so training yourself, training your body to fast, it's a blessing. It is a huge blessing, not just spiritually, but physically, what it does for your cells, what it does for your body. I think it's extremely sad that this is the world we live in, and, you know, that this is what it's come to. Because I remember just some years ago, they were talking about, oh, like there's too much food. You know, that's why, you know, there's such an obesity problem. Like, okay, but you guys are making this food in the labs. It's not like there's too much food because you guys are growing it and it's fresh and it's healthy. It's, you know, it's genetically made food. But now all of a sudden, you know, you hear there's a food shortage because of this and because of that. They're just, you know, it's like they take you on this roller coaster ride of emotions surrounding the food. And, you know, we all have to at some point decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to take back control of this so-called narrative they're trying to put out there. And like I said, it's hard, but there's still seeds. So don't feel like, you know, it's the end of the world and we're not going to be able to get seeds to grow stuff. But also training yourself on fasting can definitely be a benefit and a blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say it all the time. Our bodies was meant to go a long period of time without food. We've just been programmed. Oh, you need breakfast. You need a snack in between breakfast and lunch. You need a snack between lunch and dinner. You need dessert. You need a midnight snack. Like, it's all of these different things lined up throughout the whole day. The average person eats anywhere between, 2 and 6 times a day. You don't necessarily need that, right? Like I always point out, like when you watch these adventure movies, these fantasy adventure movies where they're like crossing large landscapes and traveling and going on these journeys and stuff, you don't really see them eating that often. You see them like sitting around a campfire in one scene and they're eating, and then you might not see them eat again until probably halfway through the movie after they've traveled hundreds of miles. And it's not that they just wanted to not show them eating throughout that whole time period. It's because they didn't really have to, right? But I do apologize. I set up the stream to be on YouTube as well as Facebook, but StreamYard is having some issues with YouTube. So I appreciate everybody who's bared with me and joined us on Facebook, who normally join us on YouTube. So once this stream ends, I'll just re-upload a separate stream of this recorded once this finishes recording, and it just upload it to YouTube for those people who want to watch the playback. But I've been trying to fix it while we've been on here, but it keeps saying that we're having trouble streaming to YouTube. This may be an issue on YouTube's end. We'll keep trying and let you know if it's resolved. Please check YouTube to ensure the stream looks okay. If this continues for a while, try creating a new live stream or just remove this destination from the stream, then re-add it. So like I said earlier, it's been nothing but technical difficulties all day, so that don't surprise me, but we're going to keep pushing forward. No worries. It'll get on YouTube eventually. Whether it's tonight, tomorrow, we'll make it happen at some point. But let's go to the next video. Now this one is kind of breaking away from the biblical base, but we still gonna obviously attack it from a biblical perspective. We'll see if we I already know we're not getting monetized, but we'll see if this video even stays up on YouTube. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna play this. I don't care. I'm gonna play it anyway.
I'm an architect of 20 years, member of the American Institute of Architects, and have been studying steel-framed, fireproof buildings for about that long.
We ask that for clarification because as we get into this, we want people to make sure that you're not just somebody with a wacky idea.
Right.
Okay, you come with some science to you. What is the official reason for the collapse of the World Trade Center towers?
Well, we're told that the planes hit the buildings and there was an explosion and a fire, and about an hour and a half later, in the case of the North Tower, the buildings collapsed due to structural weakening due to the fires. Mm-hmm. The problem is that we don't have large gradual deformations associated with collapses, and fires in high-rises have never brought down a steel frame high-rise building at all, ever. And what we have, unfortunately, is the evidence in the Twin Towers and the third skyscraper to collapse that day, which most people don't know anything about it. We have the evidence of the 10 key features of controlled demolition. In the case of Building 7, it collapses straight down into its own footprint at free fall speed in the first 100 feet. It's dropping, as you can see, symmetrically, smoothly, at free fall speed in the first 100 feet, 2.5 seconds. This is uncanny. There's 40,000 tons of structural steel designed to resist this collapse.
Is it, what, a 47-story building?
Yeah, it's called Building 7, right? A football field away from the Twin Towers.
Oh, okay, so what we're showing is left what happened. In fact, right is a controlled where you are using, or the people who made this happen, used demolition.
Indeed, and this is a direct comparison. And you can see that, indeed, almost free fall speed, free fall acceleration through 40,000 tons of structural steel. That is uncanny. So we have 700 architects and engineers demanding a new investigation as a result of this evidence and the evidence in the World Trade Center. That is very explosive. Almost every architect and engineer we show this information to agrees with us that these are controlled demolitions. If we can get them to look at the information, because obviously the implications of a controlled demolition are dark for our country. Yeah. Because that means somebody besides Al-Qaeda was involved, because these have to be easily 3 of the most highly secure buildings outside the Pentagon.
Sorry, he said it, not me, right? It's just important to like know who you have in power, right? Like I said earlier when we were talking about the fruit tree, whoever controls the food controls the power. And unfortunately, a lot of people place their faith, their trust in the government in general, right? And I served in the military, so I could tell you that I've served with brothers and sisters who are passionate about this country, about having patriotism, right? And they believed everything that came on the news about that incident, right? But as you can see, you have somebody who is a professional, who is a subject matter expert in engineering and architecture. And he is saying from his own lips, based off of what we saw, everybody, because it was worldwide and it was on all of these news outlets, and compared it side by side to a controlled demolition, and there was no difference. So if that is the case, and that is true, which he has rallied, he said over 40 experts, I believe it was, that are all in the same field, and now they're petitioning for something to be done, right? I don't know if this brother's still alive at this point, because you know, he didn't go on to no just regular like YouTube platform. It looked like he was on some type of mainstream, you know what I'm saying, type of platform to say that, right? So I applaud him for his bravery. But we say, when you look at that event and it don't add, 1 + 1 ain't adding up to 2, it's adding up to 4.5. We ain't just simply conspiracy theorists, because I really don't like that word conspiracy theorist, because it makes it sound like whatever you're saying has a level of craziness to it. Like, it's like, hey, I'm gonna discredit you by calling you a conspiracy theorist, even if what you're saying is backed up by science, is backed up by facts, and everything that you're talking about is true, right? But I found that video. It came across my Facebook, and I was like, this has to get shared. And this was like the first time that I've seen it come from a professional, somebody that is in architecture and engineering, that builds these types of structures, understands how they're like, how everything works, you know, limitations, melting points, you know, just the structure integrity of all of these types of buildings and structures. for them to come out and say what we've all been saying since the event, right? It just was like, man, yes, finally somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like some almost like now we've had a couple people from NASA come in and put their own foot in their mouth several times. But it's almost like the equivalent of, like the head person at NASA just coming out and saying everything that we've been telling you guys is a lie. Like it almost felt like that. Let me see. I'm reading a comment. It says, exactly. I was wondering how much money was paid to all of these professionals, architects and contractors, etc., to take a L on their buildings not being structurally sound. Because how do you sell the next building without suspension? Probably, actually, a lot of these people, I would even argue and say they might not have got paid anything. I would say they probably just got death threats. Because I remember when it was earlier, I want to say this was probably back in 2018, 2018. There was these documentaries that was popping up and more videos that were popping up where people were actually speaking out that were on the ground, boots on the ground during those whole things that even went into the buildings. There was firemen, other first responders, and they was giving their, I ain't gonna say testimony, because they were being interviewed by local news stations and outlets. And they were being asked like, hey, what did you see? They put the microphone into them like, hey, what did you see? What did you experience? And a lot of them told you, we went inside, we heard explosions first, and then everything started to collapse around. And the people that were speaking up, a lot of them were fired and blackballed and all kinds of types of things. So honestly, maybe some people were paid off, but I think a lot of people were threatened and they just kept their mouth shut because they worried about the safety of themselves and their families, to be honest. But anybody got any comments they want to make on that? All right, moving on to the next one.
Happen before the tribulation or after? 1 Thessalonians 4:16 says that the rapture happens right after the resurrection of the dead. So if we can locate the timing of the resurrection, then we can locate the timing of the rapture. In John 6:40, Jesus says the resurrection happens on the last day. Revelation 20:4-5 gives us more information. It says, I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given authority to judge, and I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony about Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or its image and had not received its mark on their foreheads or in their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Here we see that the first resurrection includes people that have gone through the tribulation and had victory over the beast. This lines up perfectly with Matthew 24:29-31, which says that Jesus returns after the tribulation to gather his people. So the resurrection and the rapture can't be before the tribulation, but after.
Sorry, I keep doing that. So now we're talking about pre-tribulation rapture versus post-tribulation rapture, right? The system made some excellent points, excellent points. But the scripture that she left with the Matthew 24, I wanted to pull that up because it gives more than what she said. Not saying she didn't know it. I'm just saying the rabbit hole goes a little bit deeper in regards to that. So let me share my screen really quick. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. As you can see, I don't have to go to the email to get to get some of the notes that I had for tonight because the computer was all messing up. But anyways, let's see, Matthew 24, right? But we're gonna start at verse 36 and we're gonna go all the way to 42. She went from 39 to 41. So there's some stuff that wasn't mentioned, and this is really important to catch on to because there's a lot of people who think or believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. Okay. And so Matthew 24, verse 36 to 42 says, but of that day, let me try to get this curse on here. Yeah. But of that day, an hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, okay, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Adonai doth come. Right? So a couple things to point out here, right? When people were reading this who believe in the rapture, they look at the person that's taken as being raptured up into the sky, and then everyone left is the wicked people, or the people who now have to endure tribulation to prove themselves to try to make it to salvation, right? There's different viewpoints, on the rapture and everything like that, but generally, basically, that's like the most, I guess, popular, right? But when you actually look at the scriptures, which is why I wanted to go all the way back to verse 36 here, the scriptures tell you what happens. It tells you, right? So first off, the Messiah, this is the Messiah speaking, right? He says, no man knows the hour, not the angels in heaven, but the Most High only. But then he gives a good clue in verse 37. He says, but as what? The days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So just like in the days where Noah was, and we know about Noah, right? The world was wicked. People was doing whatever they wanted to do. There was all types of bad stuff happening, and the Most High sent a flood, right? And killed everybody except Noah and his family. As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So when the Son of Man, which is Messiah, when he returns, it's going to be just like that. Scriptures is telling you right there, right? And not that just like the days of Noah, people are going to get raptured. Let's continue, because he continues to give us clues. Verse 38. So it says, for as in the days that were before the flood. Right? So what were the days like before the flood? Right? He tells you they were eating and drinking and marrying, right? So just basically going through their normal everyday routine, right? Then it says until the day that Noah entered into the ark. So Noah and his family entered into the ark and knew not until the flood came. So everything was regular, peachy. The flood came and wrecked everything, right? But look, hold on. Here's the key right here. And took them all away. Who was them? It's not talking about Noah and his family. It's talking about all the people of the earth. So to be taken away here is not actually to be raptured or to be saved. It's actually to be killed, to be destroyed, right? So they were drinking, they were marrying, they were giving in marriage, right? Going about their days all the way up until Noah and his family entered into the ark. And they knew not until the flood came. And by the time the flood came, it was too late, because they were outside of the ark and they got killed. It took them all away. Then he says, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So just like this happened, everything was regular, and then the flood came and killed everybody. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Everything's being regular. When you go outside and you look at this wicked world, people are drinking, marrying, living their best lives, focusing on their business, doing all of these things and not giving reverence to the Most High and keeping his law, statutes, and commandments, right? When the Messiah comes back, it's going to be just like the days of Noah. Then he goes into the popular rapture scriptures. Well, I won't say rapture scriptures. I'll say scriptures that people have mistakenly added to be to support the rapture doctrine, right? Then two shall be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. The one shall be taken, meaning one shall be killed and the other left, or destroyed and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken or killed and the other left, right? Because the flood came and took them all away. Then he says, watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Adonai doth come. You don't know when the Messiah coming back. Not the angels in heaven, but his Father only, right? So you need to be vigilant. And if you keep reading, this entire chapter is really great to read. But if you keep reading, it talks about the servant and keeping the house in order, because he don't know when the master's coming back, right? So this whole, pre-tribulation rapture is not good, because even scripture says those who endure until the end shall be saved, right? Those who endure until the end shall be saved. So let's look at that. Does that match the context of this? So if two are in the field, right? If one is taken, meaning raptured up for salvation, and the other one left because they're wicked, and then the scripture says those who endure until the end shall be saved, how is this person that's taken actually being raptured if they're not enduring until the end? So the wicked people are being killed here, and then the other left. So one wicked person, one righteous person. The righteous person is enduring until the end. He is left to endure until the end. So that's what I wanted to add to what the sister had brought out. But she made a really good video. I really love all the scriptures that she provided and everything like that. It's just important to kind of get into what the scriptures are actually talking about, because a lot of these doctrines that religion and churches and stuff that they've tried to push out there just doesn't make sense when you line them up to the actual Bible. It has to be in alignment with the Bible. But on the pre-tribulation rapture, does anybody have any commentary that they want to say?
I was going to say that when you see what these churches teach and preach, you come to see and realize that a lot of times it's because instead of truly leading people to Christ, it's like they're trying to sell something. They're like selling a relationship with him versus actually just saying, look, this is what it is.
Yeah.
He loves you. He created you. Have a relationship with him. Because I was talking to one of our friends recently, and she was like, one of the reasons she doesn't like going to church anymore is because, they paint these pictures of how like being a Christian is just so amazing. Like they talk about all the good that comes from being godly and serving the Lord and having a relationship with him. But they don't discuss how hard it is to, not sin and, to turn the other cheek and to, bless those that have wronged you and, just all the hard stuff. And, I had to tell her, I said, it's sad. I said, because if they tell you the truth, then a lot of people probably wouldn't serve the Lord. If you sat in church and heard all the negative stuff, you would be like, yeah, I'm just better off in the, a lot of people would feel or think that they're just better off in the world. So that's the only thing that I just listening to you say that, like, it's sad, but that's what it's like. And not just when it comes to obviously the rapture, but a lot of different teachings,
Yeah, absolutely. These religious figures are essentially, like you said, they're the middleman, and they're profiting off of being the middleman. So if they have a product that you want, which is, a relationship with the Most High, and they're your way to get to it, and then they ask you to line their pockets essentially with tithes and offerings and supporting the church, the building fund, and all of these different things, right? They create these platforms. You go, you subscribe, right? These people got millions of subscribers and followers and all of that. Anytime they do an event, everybody shows up and buys tickets. Anytime they write a book, everybody's purchasing the book. They're literally monetizing the Most High. They're literally monetizing the scriptures, and they're benefiting off of that. So like you said, if people really were to know what the truth is about what the scriptures are saying, the weak-hearted, right? Those that have not that much will, it's going to cave. They're going to cave. And they know that. And they know that if they start to tell the truth now, like these religious figures, that the people once the people realize that they've been lied to for so many years and that they've kept up this charade, they're going to walk out the doors. They're going to cancel their memberships. They're going to walk out of the doors. And then that's going to lose not only their members, but it's going to lose their livelihood and their income, because they're literally leeching off of the communities.
And it's crazy that you said like they're trying to sell a product, because it's not even so much the product is the relationship with the Lord, but definitely what the Lord offers, right? He's a healing. He's a protector. He's a healer. He's a protector. He's a provider. Yep. You know, unconditional love, favor, grace, mercy, all that stuff. And so everyone wants what the Lord has to offer, but they don't want to follow what he says. Because, for example, like you said, people will show up to church every Sunday. And the night before, they spent the night, you know, getting drunk and going to clubs and listening to all kind of crazy music, and then fornicating and doing all kind of craziness. But then they're in church on Sunday and nobody wants to hold them accountable and say, you need to get your life straight. You need to repent. You need to ask for forgiveness. You need to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But you can't hold them accountable, because God forbid you hold them accountable, then they won't show up to church anymore.
Yep. Yep. It's supply and demand. It's supply and demand. Because think about it like this. If you had knowledge of a product that is a really good product, and you know people will want it, if you can convince them that the only way they can get that product is by going through you, you have essentially set yourself up to profit off of that demand, right? But then if people learn that they can get the product without ever having to go through you, then that literally takes away all your leverage, right? All of the demand to go through you, and you are literally left with nothing. And it's the same thing with these pastors and preachers and teachers, right? When people wake up and realize, I don't need a pastor or a preacher or a teacher. I don't need to go to these churches. I don't need somebody to sit up behind a pulpit in order for me to have a relationship with the Most High. I can read the scriptures for myself. I can seek a relationship with the Most High for myself, and I can receive the benefits and the blessings that's outlined for me by his promises in the word without having to support all of the nonsense. And then they essentially get cut out of everything, right? They don't want that. So they have to keep up the charade. They have to keep up the lie. They have to keep people believing that they're needed. They have to keep people believing that they're needed, or else they become, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't. Irrelevant. They become irrelevant, right? But great point. Definitely great point. All right. I'm not sure if we played this before. I tried to go back to our previous videos to look and see if we did. If we did already, it's a good thing to watch it again, because this sister is on point. But if we didn't, and maybe it was just me watching it on my own, then sit tight, because this is going to be a good one. Now, we're getting back into that scriptural realm, right? This is regarding the new.
Ever heard me up here and I talk about the New Testament? The New Testament, the term New Testament or New Covenant in Hebrew is called Brit Kadashah. Okay? So the same word right here. So it actually means new. or to renew, or to make new, right? Okay, so if the New Testament then is a wall, het, dalet, right? What does Yeshua say that he is? I am the door. So I'm the dalet. Correct? And so what happened because of sin is that sin created a wall. Okay?
Yeah.
And what this wall did was it separated us from the Father.
Yeah.
And so what Yah and it's a wall of a house. It's not just a wall to infinity anywhere, but it's actually the house. And so what Yah did is he didn't create a new house. What he did to remedy the separation was he put a door.
Hallelujah.
So, right? Wait, I'm not even done. All right, so I'm gonna give you a verse. So you know everything in Hebrew is action. It's a verb. So you have to, when you're looking for a definition of a word, it's not always the first one that makes sense, but you have to go to the law first mentioned. So it's the first time that thing is mentioned in a working form. Okay, so let's go to Leviticus 26 and 10. And this is why, for me, I'm so passionate about knowing both the Old, quote unquote, and the New Testament. Leviticus 26:10 says, "And ye shall eat old store, and bring forth the old because of the new."
That's good.
So this is the verse that gives you the definition of the term we use for the New Testament. The New Testament, or the new covenant, is brought forth from the old store. So it comes from the Old Testament. It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
So when Yah is giving us Yeshua, he's giving us, like he said, I'm bread from heaven. Well, everybody who understood what that meant pointed back to manna. Oh, he's manna. He says, I am the door. Everybody knew what he's talking about. I come from the fourth tribe. I come from the tribe of Judah. So he says, any man that comes to the house or through the wall, right, without the door, he said, that man is a thief
and a robber. Right.
All right. So, and then I'll give you the last point that we made in the women's class. We used the idea.
Before you go, could you read your version of 26:10 one more time?
Okay. My version says, and ye shall eat old store and bring forth the old because of the new. And I'll just read the next one because this one is prophetic. And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not abhor you. The tabernacle is Yeshua.
Yeah.
So we dealt with this idea of renewal. And renewing doesn't mean to make something brand new. Because in order to make something brand new, it means you throw out the old. So a New Testament automatically means that the old is obsolete by definition. So we use the idea of a Persian rug. I have an expensive Persian rug in my house, and somebody comes in their high heels and walks over my rug and snags it. So do I throw out my rug now, or do I call up the Persian rug maker and say, hey, somebody snagged my rug, and I put it into the shop to be fixed. And when it's fixed, then I go in and redeem it. So the picture of renewal, or the New Testament, is man marred Yah's law with sin. And so what Yah does is he brings the blood of Yeshua to come in and to repair or to renew that covenant again, so that we have an opportunity through his work to then keep his laws, statutes, and commandments.
Yeah, so sis was cooking. She was cooking. I don't know if we played that video already, but if we did, oh well, you needed to get it again. Did you hear? I love her breakdown. I love her analogy of the Persian rug. And she's absolutely right in regards to when you hear the New Testament, it automatically implies that it's something brand new. And what is the purpose of something new? It is to replace something old, right? If you buy a new car, you probably traded in your old vehicle to get it, right? So when you see New Testament, it automatically implies that the Old Testament is obsolete and done away with, which justifies a lot of the arguments for people who don't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, right? They say we're in the New Testament, we're in the new covenant, right? But as she read in Leviticus, the new comes from the old, right? So from the old comes the new, right? Professor S says this all the time in regards to covenants specifically. Each new covenant that gets made is literally taking the previous covenant and then adding to it. So there's nothing that is replacing something. There is nothing that is doing away with anything. The covenant that the Most High made with Adam was carried over until he made a covenant with Noah. And that was carried over until he made a covenant with Abraham, right? And that was carried over until he made a covenant, right? To the next covenant, to the next covenant. The current covenant doesn't do away with the old covenant. It just adds to it. It builds to it. The new comes from the old, right? So her breakdown of the wall of the house and the only way to get into it, right? I remember these little handouts called the bridge illustration back when I was in Christianity, where it talks about how sin separates mankind from Elohim, and that the cross, right? But the representation of Messiah, he's that bridge to cross you over from no longer being separated from the Most High. And like the sister said at the end, I used to love those illustrations because they broke it down on a very simple level. Obviously, you could do away with the cross and everything like that, but you have a wall. You're separated from the Most High. And he could have left you separated, but because he loves you, he put a door in that wall. So now you have access, right? And that's why that's why the Messiah says, no man gets to the Father but through me, right? So, great point on that, man. That was a good video. Anybody wanted to comment or add anything or ask any questions? Okay. And this is the last video of the night. It's a little longer than the other ones. That's why I saved it for last. And this is an interview that Candace Owens had with Nick Cannon. Now, you may or may not like Candace Owens. You might love her, you might hate her, right? Sometimes the sister say some things that make you go, huh? But then sometimes sis be on point. And I love that she is bold in everything that she do. She do not hold her tongue out of fear for nothing, right? She keeps it real. She says it how it is. Whether or not you will agree with it, whether or not you like it, I can respect the fact that the sister ain't afraid to speak her mind. So she was on this platform with Nick Cannon. I think it's called what's it? Council Culture, but the O in council was a circle with a line through to kind of like talk about like cancel culture, because he got canceled before. But let me play this real quick.
I've done this myself, gotten canceled by speaking that there's elites that are trying to keep us down.
How can you get canceled for common sense?
But I'll say this, and hindsight, you're a person of faith. Could we lean a little bit more into the space of this is talking about spiritual warfare. Yeah. There are greater spiritual entities that are operating, that in utilizing, instead of, I would just say that they can utilize anyone. They can utilize the media. They can utilize government. These energies that are trying to tear down humanity. Could we offer that, opposed to just saying like there's this secret room of individuals sitting there and they have all the money in the world and they're trying
Well,
to
there
control.
is, but the thing is, it's like first you have to claw back and recognize that, and the way that you do that is learning real history, right? Really, like I said,
But that could have been spirituality throughout the whole time.
Well, it is ultimately, yes.
Right.
So that's what the first step I'm saying. I mean, this is like you got to go. This is what will bring you back to the Bible. I mean, the first step of this is first understanding. You got to peel it back like like an onion, right? So the first layer of this is realizing that everything that you're seeing, it's just not real, right? The media, it's not real. They're being controlled. It's all an illusion. Hollywood, they're being controlled. There's an agenda. There are people in Hollywood. I mean, how is it plausible? How is it plausible that everything Hollywood promotes is antithetical to the Bible? I mean, there's got to be like just one thing that they were like, yeah, that part's true. No, it's like they're anti-marriage, they're anti-life, they're pro-transgender, it's like literally, it's like someone read the Bible and then said it upside down, and they go, that's Hollywood.
But this is my thing.
That if you are, say something biblical, or you are faithful in Hollywood, you'd be the first person to get canceled.
See, I disagree. And then
Real quick, is it just me or is the video frozen for everybody?
It's frozen.
Okay. Because the other videos, they were like going in and out, freezing. And I didn't know if it was just me or not.
only reason because I've been in it, and as a person who's learned to attempt to walk and operate in a higher frequency, I've always said, or somebody told
It froze again.
The enemy don't want this stuff to happen. All right, I'm gonna remove it. And then I'm gonna try to bring it back up and see if that works out better.
I've done this myself, gotten canceled by
person to get canceled.
See, I disagree. And then only reason because I've been in it, and as a person who's learned to attempt to walk and operate in a higher frequency, I've always said, or somebody taught me this, is like,
Come on.
I'm sure you watched it. Do you want to just kind of share with us what he says?
Let me see if I can, because I could probably find the video on YouTube again. I mean, I could talk on it, but it's better if y'all can see it and then I talk on it. I'll play this video because this video is more like focused on the clip that I'm talking about. So let me share.
So how is it plausible that everything Hollywood promotes is antithetical to the Bible? I mean, there's not like just one thing that they were like, yeah, that part's true. No, it's like they're anti-marriage, they're anti-life, they're pro-transgender, it's like literally, it's like someone read the Bible and then said it upside down, and they go, "That's Hollywood."
See, I disagree, and the only reason because I've been in it, and as a person who's learned to attempt to walk and operate in a higher frequency, I've always said, or somebody taught me this, is like, yo, you can find the devil in anything, but you can see God in everything.
Show me God in Hollywood, please. Tell me right now. Oh, give it to me.
See God in Hollywood.
It's tough with Nick because, you know, he's not operating according to the true spirit, which is the Holy Spirit. He's pursuing something else. He's into some mixture of religion, some new age stuff. So it's harder for him to be able to recognize the demonic activity in his own industry because his vision is cloudy. All right, y'all. Nick Cannon and Candace Owens had a conversation. You know what? This was actually a cool conversation. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think I was going to see these two sit down together, but I'm glad I did because it was a cool conversation. But things got really interesting around the 25-minute mark. Honestly speaking, the whole interview is very intriguing, but this part just caught my attention specifically because they started talking about spiritual warfare. They started talking about Hollywood. They started talking about how Hollywood is intentionally against the Bible.
Hate seeing ads? Here's how to get rid of them or get paid to see them. Do you know how much of the content you see on a daily basis are ads?
And things got very, very interesting. I'm trying to expand my vocabulary, but for whatever reason, as soon as I turn the camera on,
like, again, how do you even manage to be a Democrat or a Republican? Like, you can't trust either side. And it's like, there's no such thing as, two parties. It's just one party with two names.
You're
one
right.
evil party.
And to be clear, I don't trust either party either.
Right.
I mean, that's very clear that it is one party and they just keep both sides warring with one another intentionally. But occasionally,
and democracy is an illusion.
Democracy is an illusion. Yeah. Occasionally, you will see that one person falls through the cracks, and there are those people out there. This was the reason I supported Trump, because if Trump was a part of the club, they wouldn't have gone at him like that. They wouldn't have tried to lock him up. They wouldn't have tried to kill him. I mean, you know who's not in the in club because all you have to do is see who the media is attacking. You know what I mean? Right. And like Thomas Massey is a congressman that I love. He's maybe the only a handful of congressmen that are not voting according to lobbying interests or blackmail interests as well. There's an entire blackmail ring that's running Hollywood and running DC as well. But that is the only way. Is you have to think through it. And you have to pause every single time the media is showing you something and they're in lockstep and you're about to have an emotional response and actually ask yourself, and who benefits from this emotional response?
Can I offer something else up in that thing? Because I don't disagree, but I think we do start to lean a lot more, or at least we feed the conspiracy theory fodder when we start to, because I've done this myself, gotten canceled by speaking that there's elites that are trying to keep us down.
How could get canceled for common sense?
But I'll say this, in hindsight, you're a person of faith. Could we lean a little bit more into the space of this is, I think you even said, I believe, like Tucker Carlson are trying to tear down humanity. Could we offer that opposed to just saying like there's this secret room of individuals sitting there and they have all the money in the world and they're trying to
control. But the thing is, it's like first you have to call back and recognize that, and the way that you do that is learning real history, right? Really, like I said,
but that could have been spirituality throughout the whole time.
Well, it is ultimately, yes. Right. So that's what the first step I'm saying. I mean, this is like you got to go. This is what will bring you back to the Bible. I mean, the first step of this is first understanding. You got to peel it back like like an onion, right? So the first layer of this is realizing that everything that you're seeing, it's just not real, right? The media, it's not real.
It's
They're
all an
being
illusion.
controlled. It's all an illusion. Hollywood, they're being controlled. There's an agenda. There are people in Hollywood. I mean, how is it plausible? How is it plausible that everything Hollywood promotes is antithetical to the Bible? I mean, there's not like just one thing that they were like, yeah, that part's true. No, it's like they're anti-marriage, they're anti-life, they're pro-transgender, it's like literally, it's like someone read the Bible and then said it upside down, and they go, that's Hollywood.
But this is my thing.
And then if you are say something biblical or you are faithful in Hollywood, you'd be the first person to get canceled.
See, I disagree, and the only reason because I've been in it, and as a person who's learned to attempt to walk and operate in a higher frequency, I've always said, if somebody taught me this, is like, yo, you can find the devil in anything, but you can see God in everything.
Show me God in Hollywood, please. Tell me right now. Oh, give it to me.
You can't see God in Hollywood.
I literally see.
You can't. So you've never there's never been a film that has touched your soul so much that it actually enlightened you and inspired you.
Well, what you're give me an example, because then if you
Forrest Gump.
let me give you. Hollywood exists to make you believe that what you're watching.
It's to let it make believe.
Yeah, it is a land of make believe, but the problem is that people then think that that is real. So you don't realize that there's an agenda. So you're watching a film, and I think years ago, right before the explosion of the trans agenda, which I'm adamantly opposed to, there was a film, and it won the Oscar for the first person that ever got transgendered surgery. Somebody help me here. Somebody knows this movie. No, none of y'all saw it. Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Anyways, it won an Oscar, and the guy who played the girl, or the girl played the guy, came on stage and like did this whole speech. Literally right after, it was just like transgender everywhere.
But that's a beautiful story.
It's not a beautiful story, because this is the problem. Kids grow up and TV is something that is impacting their psyche and their spirit. They don't realize it. You don't make that connection early on. You think you're watching stuff.
Unless they have parents that explain to them.
But that's the problem. They don't.
Right.
That's the problem. They don't.
So then that's the ultimate problem. Yes. It's not Hollywood that's the problem.
Well, Hollywood's a piece of it. So what I say is that what they've done quite brilliantly is they intentionally broke down the family, okay? Because
not Hollywood, you're saying the government.
The government's, this is all government, just to be clear. Yeah. The government broke down the family because they knew that the youth would naturally aspire or seek out matriarchy and patriarchy elsewhere. So you don't have mom and dad at home. Who becomes mom and dad? Okay, you're the kid, you're listening to your, I sound old, Walkman, walking down the street, Right. Now you're like, when I was growing up, like it's now mom and dad, and maybe it's Biggie, it's Pac, maybe it's now for another kid, who's like the hot new artist coming up now? I don't know, who would you say is like the hot new artist these days?
Yeah, Drake, Kendrick.
Whatever, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, whoever it is, you turn these people, suddenly, you're pursuing that patriarchy no matter what. So dad's not at home, you're not spending time with mom and dad, then you're getting pushed into the school system. So you're learning history a certain way, culture is impacting you a certain way. It's all related. It's not, these things are not separate.
Because that's life.
But that's not life. It was not life. We've
always had influence from entertainers and people that we looked at.
Yeah, but not at this magnitude, not at this scale. We haven't been able to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, couple things off the top. She was cooking. Sis was cooking. And you could probably clearly see that Nick was being extremely defensive of Hollywood because he done already been canceled. So now he's like, look, I'm trying to keep my job. I don't want no smoke. I don't want to ruffle nobody's feathers. And he went out of his way to consistently try to interrupt her. But that's just life, or there's good in Hollywood, blah 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 blah. But everything she was saying was fire, was right on point, right? Hollywood, and we've talked about it on this show. You could just go back 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, and a lot of the stuff that you see today that's normalized was not present. And if it was so small, or it was behind closed doors and hidden that you weren't really aware of it, right? If you see a couple walk down the street holding hands from the community, like back then, like you do now, that's not something that the public would accept. They would say something, right? But a lot of that is because of Hollywood. Hollywood creates this fantasy world where they can put anything they want into this fantasy world. And because we want to be entertained, we watch the stuff that they produce. And then when you watch things over and over and over again, not knowingly, unless you're cognizant, right? And you're conscious minded, you don't realize that what you're watching becomes your reality. And if things are anti-Christ or anti-Bible and you're seeing it over and over and over again, you become numb to what you know is right and wrong. So in your life, you begin to not, comment or say things against some things that you know is wrong. Or maybe in your own life, your behavior begins to change in ways where you begin to do things that you know is wrong, but it's become your reality. And before you know it, you are living a completely, separated life from the Most High, right? Outside of, the instructions that he's giving you to live into. All because of the programming, right? And it's more than just Hollywood. I know she was kind of keying in on Hollywood, but everything's an agenda. Everything's an agenda. My children today, they had a Bible lesson where the first part was the Tower of Babel, and then the second part was just showing them different videos of how there's actual evidence, archaeological evidence of biblical sites to show, like, man, the stuff you're reading in your Bible actually really happened, right? For them to see that. And then we wrapped it up with talking about, I showed them the video of how the moment of conception, how there's light that surrounds the egg, right? And you can see that life begins at conception, not all the way through. So we talked about the abortion and all of that good stuff, right? But when you're watching these movies and these things that are clearly against the scriptures are constantly being put out there, little by little, because if you say a lie enough times, people start to believe it, right? It's not about what's the truth anymore. It's about what is going to make the most people comfortable, right? I heard somebody say, what's today? Saturday. So a couple days ago, I heard somebody say, you should love me enough to respect if I want to be called by a specific pronoun. You should love me enough. You should have the genuine decency and love enough as a human being to respect the fact that I want to be called a specific pronoun, whatever the pronoun was. And it's like, so you want me to love you, and with love comes accountability, right? Think about parenting and parenthood, right? If you love your children, does that mean you just let them go and do whatever they want to do? Or because you love them, you provide discipline, you provide correction, you provide instruction, right? Because you love them, right? If you have a good friend of yours, you got best friends, because you love your best friend, do you just not say anything when they're acting crazy or when they do something or when they're clearly in the wrong? You don't tell them about themselves? Or because you love them, you let them do whatever they want to do, right? So what I'm hearing is, because I love you, you want me to partake in your delusion. When clearly the way you were born in one way, that's the way you were born. But because in your mind, you've made up your mind that you want to be something else. So you say I'm something else, and you want me to call you whatever you say you are. Not what you are, but what you say you are. Or what you identify as. And you justify that by saying, because I'm supposed to love you. No, when I love you, if, like Paul said, if I love you, I'm going to tell you the truth. He actually says, have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? So love isn't, I need to partake in your delusion. No, love is, I need to tell you, hey, man, you're not living according to the scriptures. You need to repent. Now, I'm not doing it in a fire and brimstone way. I'm just casting unnecessary judgment, but I'm telling you in love, right? You tell your kids in love, you correct them, you add instruction, right? You give them discipline and structure because you love them and you want them to grow and to prosper. It's the same thing. But unfortunately, this world that we live in is a big stage and we're just actors in it, because a lot of what they're pushing out here is satanic, pagan, all kind of craziness. All kind of craziness. Let's see. Yep, somebody said, I think this is Sister Ava. I hope it's Sister Ava. But somebody said, as children of the Most High, we call out the delusions, not play along. And that's facts. That's absolute facts. But I love how the sister is just unapologetic. Oh, okay, it's Sister Cindy. Absolutely. I'll praise it, Sister Cindy. But Candace was on point. I love that she's unapologetic. I don't deal in politics. So you're not gonna get that argument with me. I don't care about Republicans. I don't care about Democrats. I don't give a damn about the election. I don't care about that. I care about the truth and what's going on, right? I'm all about the information. So whether you like her, whether you don't, whether she supported Trump and you hate Trump, so you associate her with Trump, look, I ain't here for that. But in that video, at that moment, what she was saying, she was on point. But anybody got anything they wanted to add to that?
I agree 100% with what you said in regards to her as an individual. She stands. I love her. I can't say that I've always agreed with everything that she says, but she is so strongly convicted in the way she feels and believes and thinks, and she could care less what anyone has to say about it. So, and that's how we need to be as, followers of the Most High. So,
absolutely. You think the people in the Bible was always the most popular? No, they was saying all kind of stuff. And then another thing, I don't like when people try to use the Messiah as the personification for being a pacifist. Does he teach turning the other cheek? And that's another one. We've covered turning the other cheek on here already, right? So we've broken that down. But people try to use him to personify pacifism. Messiah, he was a dog. You get what I'm saying? He flipped over tables. He said, when I come back, I'm coming back with a sword. He not like the way he talked to some people, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? When the sister walked up and she was trying to get a blessing, and he said, it's not for me to share bread with the dogs, or I'm paraphrasing, right? But then she humbled herself and she said, even the dogs eat the crumbs from the master table, right? And he saw her faith and then he helped her. But they try to personify the Messiah as this pacifist, solely a pacifist. And then they say, well, you should be like him. You should want to aspire like that aspect of him. And then they ignore everything else that he said and he did, right? Or even if they bring up any type of goodness in the Old Testament, they focus on the good things in the Old Testament, and they either ignore the wars, the fighting, the killing, or they demonize it. And then they use that as ammunition to say, well, that's because that's in the Old Testament and I'm in the New Testament, right? But when you're following the scriptures, like Sister Cindy said, when you're serving as a child of the Most High, it is your duty to be righteous, follow righteousness, and shun evil, however that may be. It's not your job to try to fit in with everybody else, right? I know people misunderstand what Paul is saying when he says, I go to the Greek as a Greek, I go to the Jew as a Jew, right? You don't have to compromise your values, your integrity, or your I don't want to say your spirit, but you don't have to compromise yourself and live contrary to the scriptures to try to win people over, right? You don't have to sin in order to bring righteousness to someone, to plant a seed. You just be you. Not everybody gonna like it, not everybody gonna accept it, but at the end of the day, when you stand before the Most High, and he's holding you accountable, you want to be able to hear the words, my good and faithful servant, right? But that was all the videos that I have for you guys tonight. I'll pull up this again. These are the readings. Again, like I said, I'll share this with anybody who wants it. That way, if you want to follow it along week by week, if you want to like line through it or highlight it, if you keep the digital copy, just to keep track of the readings. But each week we'll be keeping track of the scripture readings. And so just like I do with next week's Torah portion always, this is, next week's scripture reading again. We got Joshua chapter 2, verses 1 through 14. So not a lot. Proverbs chapter 1, verses 1 through 20. And then Psalms chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. So y'all can write it down, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. Okay. Yep. Con. Yep, indeed. Well, with that being said, family, anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? Now's the time to speak now or forever hold your peace. Or at least hold your peace until next week, or if you're going to hit me up after this. All right. Let's see. Okay. So with that being said, family, I appreciate everybody for coming on here. I thank you guys for being flexible. I know we've been having some issues in the YouTube thing. I will get this video uploaded to YouTube at some point in the near future. So if you want to watch the playback, you'll be able to go on YouTube and get it. So with that being said, family, may the Most High bless you, keep you campus angels around each and every one of you, and give you peace. That is shalom in Messiah's name. Shabbat shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, family. Love y'all.
And wow. Break down my thoughts. It's a blessing. In every lesson.
I put pen to paper like canvas to a creator. Trying to birth perfection like queens that win in labor. Cause my seed royalty, every line and metaphor is related to a king. That's exactly what this letter for. To be remembered, Facebook, what I need a metaphor. Bars produce heat, what the fuck I need a sweater for. Flow spicy like this Cajun or Creole. Plus this heat from my lyrics like they straight out of Shio. But on the contrary, I'm a